Why he stayed quiet instead of fighting back. The room was loud with accusations, but he didn't raise his voice even once. People expected shouting, excuses, anger, maybe even tears, yet he stood there silent, calm, almost unreadable. To them, his quiet looked like weakness. To her, it felt like something else entirely. She noticed how his hands didn't shake, how his eyes didn't beg for approval, how his silence wasn't empty but full. That moment planted a question inside her that would later change her life. Why would someone choose silence when fighting back seemed easier, louder, more acceptable? And why did that silence feel stronger than every word spoken against him? She had grown up believing that strength meant noise. Strong people argued. Strong people defended themselves. Strong people never let anyone misunderstand them. That was what she was taught, what she practiced, what exhausted her. Every time she was questioned, doubted, underestimated, she fought back with explanations, justifications, apologies wrapped in confidence. She carried the weight of proving herself everywhere. But watching him stand quietly while being judged cracked something open inside her. He wasn't frozen. He was choosing. And that choice unsettled her more than any argument ever had. Later, when the room emptied and the noise moved on to find a new target, she asked him why he didn't say anything. He smiled, not proud, not bitter, just aware. He said some battles don't need weapons, they need time. He said people who are committed to misunderstanding you will never listen anyway. He said silence isn't surrender when your life is your answer. Those words stayed with her longer than the accusations stayed with him, because she realized how much of her energy she had spent trying to be understood by people who never intended to understand her. Her own life had been a constant performance of resilience. She was the brave one, the responsible one, the one who carried expectations without complaint. But bravery, she learned, had slowly turned into self-erasure. She kept explaining her choices to family, defending her dreams to relatives, justifying her boundaries to people who crossed them anyway. Each explanation chipped away at her certainty. Each argument left her more tired than before. Watching him walk away from judgment untouched forced her to ask herself a painful question. What if fighting back wasn't strength? What if it was fear disguised as courage? The world had always demanded that she be louder to be taken seriously. Speak up or be ignored. Protest or be erased. Prove yourself or be dismissed. But no one ever taught her that silence could be intentional, strategic, dignified. That silence could say, I know who I am and I don't need your permission to exist. His quiet wasn't passive. It was grounded. It came from knowing his values so clearly that outside noise couldn't shake them. And she realized that was the kind of strength she wanted, not the kind that bruises itself trying to convince others. She began practicing silence in small ways. The next time someone questioned her choices, she didn't rush to explain. Her heart raced, her instincts screamed, but she stayed quiet. The discomfort was intense, like standing without armor for the first time. But something surprising happened. The world didn't collapse. The other person filled the silence with their own assumptions, revealing more about themselves than about her. She walked away feeling lighter, not weaker. That moment taught her that silence can be a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in it. People started calling her distant, changed, cold. Before, those labels would have triggered long emotional defenses. Now she let them pass. She understood that not every version of her deserves access to the new woman she was becoming. Silence became her filter. Those who respected it stayed. Those who fed on reaction drifted away. For the first time, her energy felt protected. She wasn't shrinking. She was consolidating herself. She was choosing where her voice mattered instead of scattering it everywhere. She also learned that silence doesn't mean never speaking. It means speaking from power, not panic. When something truly mattered, she spoke with clarity, not urgency, with conviction, not desperation. And because she no longer spoke all the time, her words carried weight. People listened differently. Some felt challenged. Some felt threatened. Some felt inspired. But she no longer measured her worth by their reactions. She measured it by how peaceful she felt afterward. The memory of that day stayed vivid. How he stood quietly while others burned themselves out trying to control the narrative. How his life kept moving forward while theirs stayed stuck in noise. She understood then why he stayed quiet instead of fighting back. Because he trusted the long game. Because he knew his character didn't need defending in rooms that refused to see it. Because reacting would have given power to people who hadn't earned it. And because silence protected his future more than any argument could. She carried that lesson into her own battles. When she was underestimated at work, she focused on results, not rebuttals. When relatives doubted her independence, she let her consistency speak. When society tried to define her limits, she refused to negotiate with small minds. Her silence wasn't absence. It was presence refined. It was strength without spectacle. It was bravery without bruises. Over time, she noticed something else. The people who once demanded explanations now watched quietly. The same silence they once mistook for weakness now made them uncomfortable. Because silence backed by action leaves no space for manipulation. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It simply exists, steady and undeniable. She realized that by staying quiet, she had stopped feeding systems that thrived on her self-doubt. This was not the silence of fear. This was the silence of a woman who knew her direction. A woman who understood that not every fight deserves her voice, not every accusation deserves her energy, and not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Some truths unfold better when left alone. Some victories arrive quietly. Some transformations don't announce themselves. She no longer confused bravery with noise. She knew now that the bravest thing she could do was stand firm without performing strength for an audience, to let results replace arguments, to let peace replace proving, to let silence replace survival mode. And every time she chose not to fight back, she felt herself growing taller inside. Not louder, just stronger,